I think the key issue with the Bosch after 2 years or so, almost 2 years, is that whenever you have these variable speed units, you have two factors. You have airflow and you have evaporator temperature or compressor speed. Let's say compressor speed and airflow. Now, the I'm using my hands as these great ways to illustrate this, I guess. When the compressor speed changes based on the conditions that the Bosch unit senses on the lines or temperature thermistors or whatever, the airflow can go one of two places. And the Bosch IDS 1, I want to say only had one setting. So let's go back to the 1 then. It has one setting. Let's say it's 400 CFM per ton. Let's say it's 3 tons, which is a common size. So you have 1,200 CFM at a very low capacity operation. What does that mean for your air? So to me, that's like a very extreme representation of what happens in a high efficiency system with an oversized evaporator. You're going to have that very high evaporator suction pressure. You're going to have that high evaporator temperature. So it's called apparatus dew point. The dew point of the actual evaporator or apparatus is higher than it normally would be. So you're not going to condense water on that evaporator. And this is going to be, I think, super bad with the IDS 1.0 because of the single blower speed. So if you have that single high blower speed, there's not much you can do about it besides take it all the way down. And then you suffer in capacity, I believe. And that's my theory. And okay, let me try to explain this because sometimes I go through these things. I want to explain it so it makes sense. And I'll go back to your questions, guys. I know you guys are probably chiming in with some good ideas. So if you have that Bosch with 1,200 CFM and it's pumping out not 36,000 BTUs of cooling nominally, but let's say it's pumping out 18,000 and you have all of that CFM. Now, what would you expect to see a system that has excessive CFM doing? It's going to push the suction pressure up, maybe not a whole lot, but it's going to push it up a little bit. It's going to push the temperature of evaporation up, or temperature of condensation, where it will condensate up on the evaporator coil as far as the water. So unless you drop the temperature down farther, which run the sucker down basically, lower and lower temperature, you're not going to condense on the evaporator unless it's running at full speed, like he's saying, where your load and your airflow are matched. But if you have a variable speed system made by somebody else, one of the other manufacturers that has a change in air speed or change in CFM, air volume, with your compressor speed to match it, or maybe in dehumidification mode, maybe it drops below the match, the theoretical match, so it dehumidifies more. That's going to be a successful dehumidifying machine versus the Bosch, which can't do it unless you just drop the airspeed all the way down or create a ton of static. I mean, you could drop the airspeed by creating static. Like if you had a humidistat that sensed 70% humidity, so it created static pressure, like you shut a zone damper halfway in the return duct into the machine, you could create a situation where you could humidify better. That seems like some kind of weird scientist crap that no one should have to do because it's just nuts.